Listen, today is like a terrible day for hip hop, all right? Because listen, we lost a legend today, all right? We're talking Rough Rider Anthem. We're talking X Gonna Give It To You. We're talking Slippin', right? It's Dark and Hell Is Hot, the whole album, all the Damien songs, bro. Listen, DMX was and will always be a legend, and it's a shame that, now is when most likely all of his music is now gonna like sit on top of the charts, right? And this is a shame, okay? This is where, I regularly say, give people, their props while they're alive for a reason, okay? You understand what I'm saying here, dudes? Because, listen, this is frustrating to me. It's frustrating because the level of talent DMX had, the life that he had, right? Dude, I heard a story pretty recently, right? Like, what happened to him? Like, his life of struggling with addiction, right? This is a story that I heard recently. When he was 13 years old, right? He needed a mentor, right? So, like, the local kids were, basically, he needed help, okay? When he was 13 years old. He went to his mentor. His mentor was supposed to be guiding him to success, yes? Guiding him out of the way of whatever he was going through at that specific time, all right? But instead, DMX's mentor, all right, gave him crack cocaine, okay? This is what started him at the age of 13 on this cycle of addiction and not being able to climb out of this hole, right? So let's watch a tribute, guys. If you're interested in this, dude, let's get it, man. Bro, let's get it.
My first rhyme came to me, you know what I'm saying? And referring to incidents occurring in past times when the beats of my profession, I had no rhymes with the daytime change.
After DMX would release his best-selling album of all time, and then there was X, which featured this hit single, Party Up in Here. After DMX would go on to star in hit films like Belly, Romeo Must Die, Exit Wounds, and Cradle to the Grave.
Your pops has been running around like Donald Trump, grabbing up every piece of waterfront he can get his hands on.
After DMX would be hospitalized and placed on life support in March of 2021 after suffering a heart attack triggered by a drug overdose.
He is in grave condition. Whatever the meaning there is, that's exactly what I'm being told.
Following the deaths of hip-hop icons like Tupac and Biggie, rapper DMX took over as the undisputed king of hardcore rap. X, whose real name is Earl Simmons, was that rare breed of superstar whose credibility on the streets would turn him into a commercial powerhouse, and while his ascent to the top of the rap game was almost a decade in the making, his journey transformed himself into one of rap's most iconic personalities.
No, I'm angry all the time. Like, it was a good time. We had a lot of fun down there in Miami, third album. What? When I get in that studio, it's a whole other situation.
It can be easy to forget how successful X was. I mean, to this day, he's the only rapper to ever have his first 5 studio albums debut at #1 on the Billboard 200.
Yep. The only. Keep that in mind. So when people try to be like, who are the greatest of all times, a lot of the times they leave out DMX, right? And a lot of it has to do with the fact that he is a living legend, right? And what's going to happen right now is that he's going to get his respect now. You see, and this is kind of what I'm saying earlier, bro. This is what I don't enjoy. I don't enjoy the concept of this, bro. Respect people while they're alive. Tell them that they are amazing regularly, right? This hurts my heart, bro. You know what I mean? Because I have every single album. My wife absolutely loves every single thing about DMX, bro. All right? And she's literally sitting upstairs crying. Do you understand? DMX, bro. If you're going through a situation in terms of any form of substance abuse or drug abuse, right? Try to speak to someone that is outside of your circle. It is probably the most important thing you can do because generally these people are not. They're so different that the differences would help you most likely more than them, if that makes any sense, right? And if that's your situation, speak to someone outside of your own circle, all right? This is important, okay?
He's also the only living rapper to have 2 albums go platinum in the same year. These things sometimes slip by the wayside because X has also made headlines for reasons outside of his career. For example, he's been in jail around 30 times throughout the course of his life, with charges varying from drug possession to robbery to probation violation and a whole lot in between. He's also struggled with an addiction to crack cocaine since he was 14 years old, and this addiction to narcotics would result in the latest turn of events in his life, being admitted to the hospital in April of 2021 after suffering a heart attack due to an overdose. So, as DMX fights for his life, and as some of his closest friends in the industry sent out their warmest wishes for him to get better, we thought we'd do the same here by refreshing everyone as to why DMX is considered one of the greatest artists of all time. Yo, what's poppin', guys? It's your boy Marlon Palmer back at it again with a brand new video.
Honestly, the entrance should be enough. Literally, only living rapper, 2 albums, platinum, 1 year. Think about that for a second, okay? Think about that, all right?
This one taking a look at the history and recent events in the life of DMX. I've been listening to X since I was 12 years old, so believe me when I say that I'm really hoping that X can pull through, and I truly believe that if anyone can, it's him. In the meantime, I wanted to celebrate the man's accomplishments, and I encourage all of you to please do the same in the comments down below. And let's get into the story. DMX was born Earl Simmons in Mount Vernon, New York on December 18, 1970. As a young kid, he and his family moved to the city of Yonkers, and there, Earl was raised in a troublesome and abusive environment. In particular, his mother would often beat him badly, sometimes knocking the teeth out of his mouth. He told GQ, "I found out I just knew things that she didn't know when I was only 6 years old. And I saw something in her notebook that was open on the kitchen table and it was wrong. So I erased it. I thought I was helping. I don't know what she thought, but she beat 2 teeth out of my mouth with a broom." Throughout the course of his childhood, X would spend a great deal of his time living in group homes, and eventually he would learn how to survive on the streets on his very own through robbery, which, as you might expect, led to several run-ins with the law. When X was only 10, he was arrested for the first time and charged with arson. Later that year, he'd be arrested again. As X grew older, things didn't get any easier. In recent interviews, he'd admitted that at the age of 14,
and this is why it's extremely important, right? Extremely important to raise your kids correctly. Yes. You never know what the mother was, specifically going through, right? But like, listen, your kids are going to grow up and be you. You know what I'm saying? Love your kids, treat your kids with respect, honor them, right? Because if you do not guide them into the correct path, they will turn to a life of crime, right? Generally, the basic qualifier for criminal activity, for the most part, is poverty, right? And if he was literally removed from his household and put into a group home young, right, he is going to be considered impoverished, yes? He's going to try to do all of these things. And now I understand why he had a mentor, right? You understand? It's like, dude, raise your kids with love. If you know what I mean? Like, if you didn't have it, why you don't want your kids to not experience that? Because then they grow up, like, it's easier for them to get addicted to things because they're just looking for an escape from their own personal reality. Let's get it.
He was tricked into smoking crack for the first time in his life when he was given a blunt laced with the drug.
Why would you do that to a child? Right. You're like 30, you know what I'm saying?
To make matters even worse, the man who tricked X was someone he looked up to as a mentor figure in his life. This would kickstart a battle between X and dependency issues, one that would be further complicated when it began to affect his mental health as well. In the BET documentary The Rough Rider Chronicles, X admits that beyond his issues with drugs, he's also battled with multiple personality disorder.
Yeah. Few people in me that get me through life.
What would you want anyone to know about those people that help?
I wouldn't want anyone to know anything about those people.
With his upbringing as difficult as it was, X would find his saving grace in the world of hip-hop, starting out as a DJ and human beatbox before moving into the rap game to increase his spotlight. He took the name DMX from the digital drum machine that he'd used to create beats and began turning his new persona into a hip-hop legend on the freestyle battle scene. It didn't take long to earn himself a write-up in the Source magazine's unsigned hype column, and by 1992, X was signed to Columbia's subsidiary, Rough House, dropping his very first single, Born Loser, soon after. Unfortunately, a surplus of talent on the record label's roster would leave DMX tragically underpromoted. So the label eventually agreed to release him from his contract. In 1994, he dropped his next single, Make a Move, and then in a tragic bit of irony after doing just that, he found himself convicted of drug possession that very same year. After getting out of prison, DMX began to rebuild his career by appearing in one of DJ Clue's underground mixtapes. That would lead to his earning a second major label contract with Def Jam and appearing on features with the likes of LL Cool J. By early 1998, X was ready to release his Def Jam debut single, Get At Me Dog, which became a gold-selling smash hit for him and paved the way for his full-length debut studio album, It's Dark and Hell Is Hot, which dropped at #1 on the Billboard charts.
Dude, if you have not heard that album and you are a hip hop head, it is imperative that you go listen to this entire album. It is mandatory. Mandatory, okay? Let's go.
The album would sell over 4 million copies and create a career not just for X, but for its producer as well in Swiss Beats. With his musical career on track to succeed, X turned his eye towards the silver screen when he made his feature film debut by co-starring in the ambitious film Belly.
Go watch that also, for real.
Legendary movie. If you haven't seen it yet,
Yeah.
you're doing yourself a disservice. Seriously.
Yeah, hip
I'm
hop.
not just saying that because I'm Jamaican, but I kind of
Yo, your man? Trying to get wild on for real.
While that film has enjoyed a cult following in the years since its release back then, it was considered something of a failure. By the end of '98, X would not only buy himself out of his contract with Def Jam, but he dropped his second album as well, the controversial Flesh of My Flesh, Blood of My Blood.
Yep.
An album that caused an uproar upon its release due to the graphic imagery on its front cover of X absolutely drenched in blood. But you know what they say, there's no such thing as bad publicity, and that album would eventually go triple platinum.
Yeah.
Then in '99, DMX hit the road with Jay-Z in the blockbuster Hard Knock Life Tour, which also featured Method Man and Redman. Also, a documentary that if you have not seen the Hard Knock Life Tour documentary, don't call yourself a hip-hop fan.
I thank you for the love that.
Unfortunately, some serious charges would be brought forward later that summer when X's uncle and acting manager was accidentally shot in his foot at a New Jersey hotel. After the incident, police would raid DMX's home and filed animal cruelty, weapons, and drug possession charges against him. DMX eventually plea bargained down to fines, probation, and community service by the end of '99. He was releasing his third album, and then there was X. Not only was this his third straight album to go #1, it also produced his biggest hit since Get At Me Dog with the classic Party Up, Up in Here. A single that helped make his album his best-selling one yet, with over 5 million copies sold, and that song could turn a
Keep in mind, right? This was before the digital. We're talking physical copy sales, bro, all right?
best-selling one yet, with over 5 million copies
Ask your favorite artist right now how many physical copies they're selling.
in here. A single that helped make his album his best-selling one yet, with over 5 million copies sold, and that song could turn a church up. Seriously.
Yeah.
Around this time, DMX returned to the silver screen in a big way with Jet Li action film Romeo Must Die, but soon after he became entangled with weapons and drug charges in New York State that eventually saw him plead guilty and spend 15 days in jail. Only weeks after getting out, his new film with Steven Seagal, Exit Wounds, would open at #1 in the box office and featured his hit single No Sunshine. Due to the immense success of both these properties, Warner Brothers signed X to a multi-picture deal, and in the fall of 2001, he dropped his fourth album, The Great Depression. Over the next few years, DMX would be busier than ever recording albums like Grand Champ and A Year of the Dog Again, as well as appearing in the Jet Li film Cradle to the Grave. But before long, more legal issues would crop up, including having to serve 90 days in jail after pleading guilty to charges of animal cruelty, drug possession, and theft in late 2008.
Because if I hadn't met the devil here, I wouldn't realize I was strong enough to overcome the obstacles that the devil would place in my path.
Yeah, it's obvious that DMX was a troubled soul, right? As he said, he suffered from multiple personality disorder. He was troubled. You get what I'm saying here? But it's something interesting about the concept of a troubled mind when it comes to being able to artistically create something that is breathtaking, right? And if you notice, like a lot of like the people who were like the most troubled produced some of the best art in human history, right? Literally. There's just something about the troubled mind. It's terrible for them to obviously deal with it, but the things that they create, because a lot of people will hear the story of DMX, right, and immediately cast him aside, yes, because of his troubled history, right, but then also at the same time quote Nietzsche like he's you know, a deity. You understand what I'm saying here, right? So some of the most troubled people in human history have, dude, made like the strongest impact globally. So keep that in mind when someone says, "Oh, but look at all the stuff that he has done." Hopefully, you're not quoting almost anyone from 100 years ago. Do you understand? Let's get it.
And it's by overcoming these obstacles that I realized that this is God's country.
In 2010, a 90-day sentence for reckless driving would turn into a full year after alcohol consumption triggered a parole violation. He returned to music in 2012 with Undisputed, but by now, his albums weren't selling like they used to. After 2015's Redemption of the Beast was released by his label without his blessing, X would find himself once again behind bars for 2 months after he failed to pay child support. From that point on, DMX's musical...
I think he had, like almost 20 children or something like that, right? Regardless of whatever money he was making, I'm almost positive he was not able to pay for that. I'm almost positive, right? Which is still not an excuse to not take care of your children financially, right? But dudes, almost 20 children or more than 20 children. One of these numbers, but I know that he has almost 20 children or more than 20 children, as I said. And with his status, him paying child support on all of the children, keep in mind that this is his responsibility no matter what. And I'm not making excuses for the man not taking care of his children financially. But with that many children, I don't think it's possible, right? I don't think it's like easily possible, at least, right? Let's go.
Production became sporadic to say the least. In 2016, he released a track titled Blood Red, and the following year, he dropped the single Bane Is Back. 2017 began one of the most difficult periods in X's life after he was sentenced to 1 year in prison for tax fraud. He turned himself in and eventually posted $500,000 in bail to be placed under house arrest. But after delivering a dirty drug test, he was taken off house arrest and placed in prison.
Well, I mean, it allowed me to not be scared of the situation and face it head on. You know what I'm saying? It's just, my life is in God's hands.
Despite having spent a considerable amount of time behind bars by this point in his life, X says that this latest stint was by far the most difficult. He told GQ why. Because I knew that at any given time I could be smoking a cigarette and enjoying a glass of Hennessy, eating what I want. There's so much more to life. Before I really had a life, jail was a playground. I'd be like, I'm going to jail and have fun. You know what I'm saying? People were sneaking in weed. I was sneaking into different cell blocks and battling rappers and jail used to be fun. After spending the last 90 days of his sentence in solitary confinement, X got out in January of 2019, and by the end of that year, he was checking himself into rehab. Then in April of 2020, X popped back up, this time on Instagram, where he began delivering Bible study sessions.
So this is new to me. This is not what I do. Come on, I ain't with showing everybody what I'm doing every minute. That's just not me. That's not how I get down. You know what I'm saying?
What left out most about these sermons is how good X looked. He'd put some weight on, his eyes looked clear, and he was even smiling. It finally looked like DMX was clean and healthy for quite possibly the first time in his life. Yeah. He even showed up in an episode of Versus where he battled Snoop Dogg, much to the delight of damn near everyone on the planet. What a battle. What a battle.
It's better if we just accept it.
Say, man, it's another angel up top.
It's gonna be. It's gonna be.
Of course, outward appearances can oftentimes be deceiving, and that would prove to be true in this case as well. According to recent reports, DMX has suffered a heart attack in his home as a result of a drug overdose. Upon arriving at the scene, paramedics attempted to resuscitate the star for 30 minutes, but his prolonged oxygen deprivation severely impacted his brain, and DMX is currently on life support. While things are decidedly not looking good at all right now, his children released a statement reminding us of just how much of a fighter their father is. Earl has been a warrior his entire life. This situation represents yet another road he must cross. As for where the rest of this story will go from here, well, stay tuned to this channel for more updates because as soon as we have them, we'll be passing them along. Personally, I'm praying that X battles back from this.
Of course.
Obviously for his kids and family, but also for that album that he was teasing for past couple of years. It's set to feature like Pop Smoke, Alicia Keys, Bono, Snoop Dogg, and a whole bunch more. Be sure to let us know what you think about his story in the comments down below and leave us some of your favorite memories of this talented rapper as well. Get well soon, X. We're all rooting for you here. I'll catch you guys in our next video.
Man, rest in peace, DMX, bro. This man was a legend. a legend, bro. This is the only video I'm gonna post on this topic because, like, listen, as I said, I absolutely needed to express to you guys how much I have been like infatuated with this man's music for the majority of my life. Literally, honestly, it's like let's see, I was born in '86, and so I was maybe about 12, about what this guy is talking about. I was like 12, 13 by the time I heard like the Rough Riders anthem. That was the first my first encounter with DMX, literally, right? And I was hooked ever since, right? This is ridiculous, dudes, right? You guys try to have a really good day, bro. Try to enjoy the rest of your day, all right?
Say